Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Wester. I'm a counselor here at Triton College. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to go over managing finals and holiday stress. We're recording this on December 8th, 2020. So 2020 has been a unique year. So we're going to touch on how things are a little bit different this year as well. We're going to go over what stress is, how holiday stress affects us, tips for addressing this stress, what's unique about 2020, how do I prioritize, and then questions. So what is stress? We hear this term a bunch, but stress can mean different things to different people. So some of the definitions that are out there: stress is a normal reaction the body has when changes occur. It can respond to these changes physically, mentally, or emotionally. So sometimes when we talk about putting stress on our body, it could be intentional stress. If we're working out, for example, we might be intentionally putting stress and strain on our body. We might be trying to build muscle, or we might be trying to build up endurance. So we're going to have a stress that we put on our body, and then we kind of build up some ability from that, right? And some resilience. Mentally stress and emotionally stress can impact us as well. Another definition of stress, it can be defined as the degree to which you feel overwhelmed or unable to cope as a result of the pressures that are unmanageable. So this time of year, we have final exams coming up and final papers coming up and registering for the next semester in terms of your academic world. In terms of work, if you work in retail, you might be stressed because of all of the extra hours and all of the extra time and all of the extra things and people's attitudes, because they're stressed coming at you, right? If you work in the restaurant industry, because of COVID this year, you might be impacted a lot differently with stress in terms of that. Or you might be still having to serve people outside where in a tent where the weather's a little unpredictable, but you're still kind of having to address and work in those stressful situations. On top of the holidays, there's a wide variety of holidays that happen in November, December, and January. And those holidays, even if they are joyful, can cause a different type of stress to us. Another definition of stress is the non-specific response of the body to any demand for change. So let's say you have your entire day planned and then something happens that derails that. It can cause a stressful reaction. Even if it's something joyous and something you want to do that changes it, it could still create a stressful situation because you were planning for A to happen and B ends up happening. This time of year, as I said, we've got final exams and final papers and just the final push of the semester that's happening right now, right? You could be cramming, you could be finding more time to study and prepare. You might be finishing up that paper. We have the holidays that are coming up. We also have work, we have COVID, all of these different things, and our COVID numbers keep increasing. And then there's this stress of, oh my gosh, there might be an end in sight, but how long is it going to take for that end to actually come? Your finances might be causing you stress because of COVID, because of work, because of the holidays. All of these different things can be different factors that impact your stress, among others. I found this to be really interesting about holiday stress specifically, but it can be applied to different things as well. So how your body reacts to stress, your nervous system has what I like to call the lizard brain. Well, I don't like to call it, it's called the lizard brain, right? Your amygdala, it's your fight or flight response. So sometimes when eons and eons and eons ago, it would be how your body would respond if you saw a snow leopard coming at you, right? How does your body respond to that? Well, as we've changed and as life has changed for us, we still have that fight or flight response, but we have it to things that are not a saber-toothed tiger. Let's use that. It's a little bit bigger teeth, right? A saber-toothed tiger. We're not running into saber-toothed tigers anymore, but we're still having these fight or flight responses to other things. It creates a stress hormone called cortisol. You might have heard of it before. This then makes your heart rate increase. It increases your blood pressure. It causes you belly issues. It causes all sorts of things and changes the glucose levels in your bloodstream. Because if you're gonna fight or flight, you need a little bit of extra oomph to get you going, right? The musculoskeletal system, your muscles are going to tense up and contract. You might get a headache, you might get migraines. Your respiratory system is going to be impacted because you're breathing heavier. You might start to hyperventilate. If you're a person who is prone to anxiety and panic attacks, that can be a response in terms of too much stress. Your cardiovascular system, your endocrine system, your gastrointestinal system, all of these different things can be impacted. So that's your body's response. And if your body's responding that way, your mind might start being like, what in the world is going on? I got to handle all of this in addition to all of this. Whew! And it's going to keep building upon itself. So let's talk about some things that maybe you're currently doing or some new things that you could try to address some of the stress. Talking it out is a great option. Here at Triton College, we have a number of full-time counselors who are here exactly for that reason. You can reach out to us by visiting our website. You can email me and I can connect with you or connect you to another counselor. We can have a virtual meeting or a phone call just to kind of have someone to talk it out and come up with coping strategies. You also, as Triton College students, have access to our student assistance plan perspectives, and you can have telehealth medicine with them as well. Taking care of yourself. There's all sorts of different forms of taking care of yourself. We've heard about like self-care Saturday, self-care Sunday, self-care in general, but truly, you know the best way to take care of yourself. It could be taking a walk. It could be eating healthy. It could be drinking water. Lots of water, right? It could be tuning out to some music. I'm going to put some music on in a little bit for you guys to listen to. Maybe that's going to be something. It could be playing music. It could be doing something athletic. Whatever it is that is, you feel more like yourself when you do it, when you take a break, that's taking care of yourself. It might look different for you than it does to me. Meditation, taking time to just breathe and taking time to focus. Those are different ways. There's music, there's guided meditations that you can go and find on YouTube. There's different workshops that you can find for meditation. Triton College counselors actually offer a few meditation workshops as well. You might be able to find one where you found my presentation. Exercise, that's one that works really well for me. I start off every morning with some form of exercise to kickstart my day. It could be something as light as stretching or yoga, or something more intense like weightlifting or running or boxing. Those are things that I have found work best for me. Taking a bath or a really nice shower. Oh, there are times that just seems to make the whole world better. Eating and eating well and eating properly, fueling your body, and sleeping well. Now, I know those can be really hard to do when you're super stressed out, but they're really important ones to help you kind of balance all of the things. So these are some suggestions to try. Writing out a list and prioritizing what needs to be done. So during finals and the holidays, it can be overwhelming in terms of all of the things that need to get done. So if you write down a list, maybe put down the due dates for everything, you'll get a better picture and it might seem a little less overwhelming. The list itself at first might be intimidating, but as you start to kind of write it out and figure out the different due dates, you can kind of see what needs to happen when, what you can push off or procrastinate on, and things along those lines. So I highly recommend a list. I love to write lists because it really feels good when I cross something off or when I do a check mark next to it. So that's something that works well for me. Something that might be beneficial to you as well is writing down your triggers and how to avoid them or how to deal with them. So if being around someone who talks about politics is a trigger for you, what can you do if you start to hear that conversation? There's all sorts of different things that you can do. You can tell the person, you know what, I really don't want to talk about this right now. It's something that really gets me worked up. Depending on the situation, you could end the conversation and say, you know what, I gotta go. You could also find a way to say, you know, I'm interested in hearing about your perspective on this, but right now is not a really good time. Could we maybe do this later? All sorts of different things. And it doesn't not necessarily have to be a conversational topic. It could be situations that are triggers for you, and you can write down different ways to avoid them or ways to deal with them, thus reducing your stress. Because then if the situation comes up, you have a plan, so maybe you won't be as triggered. Setting up time with others. Right now it's going to probably be virtual, but setting up time to see someone and check in with them can be really beneficial as well. Just this morning, someone checked in with me and said, hey, do you have time to chat? And I FaceTimed them and said, only if you'll do it on FaceTime so that I can see your face because I miss you. And that helped both of us in that situation. And then I have other people that I set up times to meet virtually where it's a designated time. I turn off all other distractions, make sure that it's just me and that other individual so that we can be focused on each other. Give permission, give permission to feel, right? But I want to move forward to what's unique about 2020. Answer these questions to yourself. What are you experiencing this year that you haven't in the past? And what is it that you're doing differently? So many of us have had to adjust to a new lifestyle in 2020, which has had its stressors in and of itself. But we've also found a lot of resilience and a lot of things that we're doing differently to move forward. But it's okay to grieve that this year is different. Maybe you had really big plans in 2020 and nothing went according to plan because of all of the things that happened instead, right? It's okay to be upset about it. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to talk to somebody about how you're feeling, that things didn't go as planned. This year, a lot of different powerful things occurred. And it's okay that things were different. It's okay to be upset about it. Moving on to how to prioritize. What is something that you have done in the past that works for you? What are some things that you've thought about trying? And here are some other ideas. We already talked about writing a list and how that can be super beneficial, right? Writing down your to-do list or your like to-do list or my I better get this done list, you know, whichever one of those variations it is. And you can do it digitally. You can do it on a piece of paper. On my iPhone, I have the Notes app. Sometimes I just, you know, put things in on the notes. As part of being a Triton College student on your triton.edu email address, you have access to a notes feature. You have access to a to-do list as well that you can kind of cross things off. Once you have things written down, again, prioritize them. It's great having a list, but what really needs to get done first? Or what do you really want to get done first, right? Sometimes everything's due at the same time. So you can kind of look at those things that are easier and maybe knock some of those off first to get the ball rolling. Or maybe you're the opposite type of person and you want to get the hardest thing done first so then everything else is easier. Whatever prioritization works for you, go ahead and use. Say no. This is the hardest one for me personally. When you are feeling stressed out, it's okay to say no to more work. When you are feeling stressed out, it's okay to say, no, I can't do this right now. Or no, just plain old no. It's okay to say no. When you are stressed, when you've got other things that are on your list, even if it's something you really want to do and you just can't fit it in right now, it's okay to say no. Just speak up and you'll be able to practice that saying no. On here, I've also included a few resources in terms of how to manage holiday stress and depression, turning stress into a blessing, how to de-stress for finals week, and then 4 tips for getting through finals week and holiday stress management. And I want to end with just a little bit of music by the fireplace. lot of search for meditation music. Find your own magical way to feel. Thank you all so much for coming. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Remember, it's okay to say no, and good luck with finals, with the holidays, and the rest of 2020. And we'll see you soon.